Hello, grade 5. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I know that you have a lot of things to do, but I believe that you can do it. Alright, so from the previous lesson, we already discussed how the Eastern Woodlands Native American groups live. And among these groups were the Iroquois and Algonquians. Right, so we found out as well that trees were their most important natural resource, providing their food, raw materials for their houses, canoes, and tools. Now we're going to explore the plains. For the learning objectives, by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to describe how the plains people adapted to their environment. And number two, you'll be able to compare and contrast the ways of life of the different plains groups. Now, grade 5, look at the map here of the United States. And by the way, this is an example of physical map, the one that shows the physical features of a place or a country like rivers, mountains, plains, forests, and lakes. And also the physical features are usually shown in different colors like what we have here in this map. Alright, so since we're talking about the plains, so you can find here in the middle, Great Plains, Central Plains. So this is what we're going to find out, what kind of native people and what are the ways of their life during that time. Alright, so it's between the Appalachian Mountains and here to the west is the Rocky Mountains. Here are the vocabulary words of this lesson. Number one, we have lodge means earthen house. So look at the picture. It is a kind of house, grade 5, that covered partially or completely with earth. Okay, it is best known from the Native American cultures of the Great Plains. And number two, we have sod. It is a layer of soil held together by roots of grasses. So we're going to find out more what it is for native people. Okay, and number three is scarce, means a short supply of natural resources and other commodities. Look at the picture here. It is an example of water scarcity, means it is the lack of fresh water resources. And number four is teepee. It is a cone-shaped shelter made of bamboo and covered with buffalo skin. So it is another kind of Native American people's house or shelter made from animal skin. Number 5, grade 5, we have the word chavoy. By the way, S is not pronounced in this word, so we read the word as chavoy. It is a kind of carrier made of two poles tied together. So look at the picture here. It shows that it is a vehicle that native people used before to carry their goods or even to carry people. And number 6, the last one for today's vocabulary, we have ceremony. It is a celebration to honor a cultural or religious event. All right, so please don't forget all these 6 words. Now let's find out the life on the plains. Okay, look at the map again of the interior plains. So the plains people live on the interior plains between the Mississippi River, where you can find in the east, and Rocky Mountains, which you can find in the west part of the interior plains. So on the fields of grass, grade 5, these people hunted buffalo or American bison. Okay, look at the picture of buffalo here. Okay, so after water, buffalo were the plains' most important natural resource, and millions of these animals once roamed this large region of a dry prairie land in North America. Okay. Now, grade 5, imagine hunters coming upon a herd of buffalo wearing animal skins. They sneak up on the buffalo. Then a signal is given, and all the hunters yell, and the frightened buffalo begin to run. Then the hunters drive the herd toward a steep cliff, unable to stop, and the animals fall over the side and are killed. Okay, so they're doing all those things, grade 5, because buffalo were the main source of food for all the Native Americans groups. Okay, look at this. Okay, for example, the meat could be eaten raw or cooked. It could also be mixed with fat and berries to make pemmican. It is a dried meat that could be stored. And the buffalo also gave plains people what they needed to make for their clothing, tools, utensils, and shelters. And the people also used almost every part of the buffalo, as I've said. So they made clothing, had moccasins from the skins, they carried water in bags made from the stomachs of buffalo, and they twisted the hair into cord and they made tools from the bones and horns. Even the hooves grade 5 of the buffalo were used to make glue, so nothing was wasted. While all they needed the buffalo and shared many customs, there were still differences among the plains people. So their ways of life depended, in part, on where they lived. Okay, for example, so some plains group live in the eastern part of the plains. So look at the map here, the one in yellow. Okay, so we have the Iowa, Missouri live there, as did smaller groups of Sioux. Okay, by the way, you pronounce this guy's number three as Sioux, okay, such as the Nakota. So these groups were both hunters and gatherers and farmers. So they gathered plants and hunted deer, elk, and buffalo. So they farm in the fertile valleys of the Missouri River and the Platte River. Then they also grow beans, corn, and sunflowers. So at times grade 5, these groups traded some of their crops for other goods. Then the Central Plains people live in the villages made up of large, round earthen houses called lodges. Remember the vocal we have earlier? So each lodge, grade 5, was home of 7 or several families. One lodge usually held 20 to 40 people, so it's the same thing, it's the same capacity of the longhouse. Then each lodge was built of earth over a small pit, and then in the center was a fireplace under a hole in the roof of letting out the smoke. Okay, and then in the northern prairies, the lodges were covered by sod. Remember what's a sod? Okay, it is a layer of soil held together by the roots of the grasses. So about twice grade 5 a year, Central Plains tribes took part in the Great Buffalo Hunt. All right, and the people had to walk from their villages in the river valleys. Remember grade 5 that the plains people hunted buffalo for food and for materials to make clothing, tools, and shelters. And the people of the Central Plains were both farmers and hunters. So that's for today. I hope you've learned something. Bye for now.